Why are you guys making it easier for people to enter the country illegally?
I don't believe we are. Why do you think we are?
Well, you guys sued to cut razor wire that was put in place by Texas officials.
So that the Border Patrol could actually do their jobs. But keep going.
Well, you won in court, so now what? The Border Patrol Union president is saying the Supreme Court's decision is going to undoubtedly encourage more illegal immigration. Do you guys know better than the Border Patrol Union?
The Border Patrol needed access, and that's why we sued to get rid of that razor wire, so that they could do their jobs. And you know what would also help them do their jobs, Peter? More Border Patrol agents. There's an idea. And if you go back to the supplemental request that we put in, there's money in there for some 1,300 additional Border Patrol agents. We want to help them do their jobs. We want to give them more resources. And the answer we keep getting back from House Republicans is no, no, no.
No, that's absolutely not true either, because that's not all what the bill included. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch here with you, top of the second hour. That's not all it included, by the way. That's not all at all. The CBO was saying that he was using the parole loophole too, that Biden was to release somehow 6.2 or somehow million illegal aliens into the U.S. And no, there was going to be no recourse on that. There's no recourse on a whole bunch of issues for him. So yeah, and in addition to that, the funding, they were reducing the funding. It was a drop in the bucket, and they also wanted to send money to Ukraine and spend all this other stuff that had nothing to do with border security. None of it. Welcome back. You can listen coast to coast. You can stream the radio program. You can also join the discussion over at YouTube. Find us YouTube, Facebook, channel 347, Direct TV. The CBO issued a report talking about this whole thing as well, just the number of people that have been coming in and the gotaways, because that was one of the reasons why Texas wanted to have this fence and the razor wire and the floating barrier in the Rio as a force multiplier, as a deterrent. You had in 2023 900,000 illegal entrants that were released, according to the CBO, after they walked up to a border gate. And they were released. Then you had 1.1 million illegal entrants that were released after they crossed through the gaps in the border wall. Half of them were let into the country by October 1st of last year. And Biden used the parole loophole in the border law. And now one of the other things that they were tacking onto that bill, they wanted to expand the doorway for that parole. Now, the inflow included they're estimating 860,000 gotaways who sneaked past the lightly guarded wall, and then 430,000 people who remained in the U.S. after their visas had expired. And the CBO data does not include the hundreds of thousands released since October 1st of 23. So just in 3 years, that's about 6.2 million illegal immigrants. That doesn't include the 1.7 million known gotaways. I mean, it could be up to 9 million. That's the number. That is the number. So when they talk about the border financing, etc., that was just like a drop in the bucket. It really was just a drop in the bucket. It's pathetic, really. And to have the Supreme Court fight, and this is the other big thing here, because we had the Supreme Court decision where you had Chief Justice Roberts and then you had Amy Coney Barrett, who voted with the progressive justices against Texas having the razor wire at the border. And there's a lot of criticism of Coney Barrett, because she apparently thinks that it's okay, if you have a state that can lock down people, but not okay if you have people who are illegally entering the country, and there's apparently no recourse for this. So you had 3 progressives, and Roberts and Barrett, and that was the decision in a 5-4 vote, striking down the lower court ruling that blocked Border Patrol from cutting or moving the state-owned razor wire Now, the DOJ has been just waging war, particularly on Texas and Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the AG Ken Paxton, because they're mad that the governor and the elected officials in the state of Texas are protecting Texans. So they're going to respond to this. Paxton noted that this ruling from SCOTUS, this is a temporary ruling, and which is true, but it is incredibly troubling that that we're here at all. However, I do remember, when all of this was happening with the Supreme Court, there were people who were saying that Barrett was just I wasn't, for the other choices to consider, she seemed the most conservative one, and I liked her ruling as it pertained to white-collar criminals and firearms. So, that was one area where I agreed with her on. But now in looking at this, and especially, there's a lot of discussion as to what motivated her for this. I mean, Roberts is, he's a moderate at best. But she had supported the Illinois lockdown on the 7th Circuit. And this is something that's important to note. I wanted to go back to this piece. This is a Politico piece that ran a couple of years ago. This was a 2020 piece. And it gets into how when she was on the 7th Circuit, the court had turned down the Illinois Republican Party's bid to block a coronavirus-related lockdown order that was limiting political gatherings to no more than 50 people. It was the 3-judge panel that included, it was it included Barrett, Trump appointees, progressive, and they were trying to get a preliminary injunction against the enforcement of this order that Pritzker had issued. And they were saying that his decision to exempt churches and other religious organizations undermined his ability to leave that limit in place against political assemblies because it's a free speech issue, which I agree with. So you have the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals held the exemption for religion Pritzker issued under legal. There was a lot of religious groups that got involved. And they were saying that the Supreme Court precedent doesn't compel the governor to treat all gatherings alike. Wow. And they said that the enforcement was being handled at the local level, not by the state. And she supported the Illinois lockdown. So she thinks that the state can lock down its citizens. And the state of Illinois can demand that they inject themselves with experimental solutions. But they can't stop an invasion at the southern border. Interesting. Now, I'm telling you, the Supreme Court, it could get worse. You got Democrats winning. Guess what? They'll pack it. Imagine the decisions that'll come out there. We got some Second Amendment stuff that'll be coming up before Supreme Court. I mean, I was looking at, there was a great piece, in fact, a couple of great pieces that were examining some of these past decisions and then comparing them to the reasoning now. There was, my friend Daniel Horowitz had a piece where he was specifically looking at whether it was Bostock, whether it was blocking a Florida appeal during this whole time. There's it's not as conservative as you think. And that's where I do depart. How is it, there's no such a free speech issue. That's not something that is relegated to the states. That is a natural right that's affirmed by the Constitution. And that doesn't mean that the states then have the authority to somehow limit your natural right. That's not what that means. But I think you have to adopt that perspective in order to get to this position with her ruling. It just doesn't make any sense.